Where we last left off was this reverse thing, and I said that I couldn't show you the thing I wanted to show you yet because we hadn't covered it yet. So this video is going to cover a few different things. It's going to cover it's going to cover inner classes, anonymous inner classes, and I'm not going to bother with lambda expressions, just this one, but it'll cover the first two. So the first thing is inner classes, or nested classes is what they're actually called, but everyone calls them inner classes. You can put a class inside of another class. Because this is accessed in a static context, we need to make it static. And I can make it private. So I could actually put a class inside of a static block. It doesn't need to be private or static anymore. I would never do this, except to show you that you can do it. I could put it inside of an if statement. Right? I can put in a nested class, an inner class, inside of any scope I want. Okay? So putting a class inside of another class is a totally doable thing. We're going to revisit this later on when we talk about linked lists. We're actually going to look at how you implement a linked list. So all we need to know right now is that you can put a class inside of another class. Generally what that means is that this class is very tightly tied to the implementation of this class. This class can't function without this class. And this class really makes no sense without being in this class. In the case of the reverse string comparator, that's not true. I can think of many cases where we'd use a reverse string comparator. But let's pretend that it's only useful inside of this context. So that's where I would put it. One thing to be aware of, if I make a static variable here, and if this weren't a static class, it would apply to non-static variables too. I can say x is assigned 5, even though x is private. Right? So you're inside of this method inside of this class, and it can access a private method inside of this class. This makes perfect sense. It might seem confusing, but trust me, it makes perfect sense. There's no method in here, in this class, that can't access a method, or a variable or other method of this same class. If you're inside the class, you have full access to all the private things. Well, this class is inside of this class. Therefore, this class has access to this class's private things. It gets worse. So remember, I wouldn't declare a thing like this. I wouldn't use the actual class. I'd want to use a comparator, and it's a comparator for strings. I'm going to make this static and just make that like that. I'm going to make it private. Oh, sorry, in this case I do need to do this. I normally wouldn't, but in this case I actually need to. Right, so this class out here, right, a method in this class out here can access a private member of something inside of this class here. Private means nothing when you're dealing with nested classes. Right? It doesn't make sense that main can't access all of its internal things. Well, reverse string comparator is an internal thing to main. It doesn't make sense that something inside of main, like reverse string comparator, can't access the private things of main. So that's just a thing to be aware of, that privacy means nothing. Because what you're saying is this is part of the implementation of this. So I don't want those. Those are silly. And I would definitely never call it like this. I want to make it like this. That's really all there is to nested classes. There's a few other weird, tricky things, but they don't come up many times. Um, but some people even find this annoying to deal with. And they actually want to say, I really want to put this code in here. So you could say, well, we could just take this method or this class here and put it in here, and now they're close by, right? You can see them. But that's not great either. It doesn't really make them happy because it's a huge amount of code. I really just want to be able to give it something really small. This is where the anonymous classes come in. So I got a couple of ways I can deal with this. Now this one is going to be confusing to you. Now I can't say new comparator, right? Because comparator is an interface, right? We're implementing comparator. I can't possibly say new on an interface. Wait, what? Do I need to put the string there? No, I don't. Because it knows that the string is, let me get rid of this code for now. It knows that the string is, this comparator is a string, so we don't need to specify what it is here, just like other generics. So I said new on an interface. You can't create a new interface. Notice that I didn't end it in a semicolon. Right? That won't compile because you can't create a new interface, an instance of new interface. But what you can do is make an anonymous class. An anonymous class is a class that doesn't have a name. So we can just take our compare to method, move it here. I don't need this reverse thing anymore at all. And now it's stuck in that variable. I can go one step further. I said you can make a class anywhere. You can make a class anywhere. You can make a class, an anonymous class, or a subclass, a class. So what this says is implicitly make a new class that doesn't have a name and have it implement the comparator interface. And here's that method I wanted to provide. Where this quite often gets used is in GUIs. So you have a button, you press on the button, you want it to perform an action. Usually that action is pretty short, just one line like this. So that works. Don't use these. I don't like using these. This is an opinion. There's no right or wrong answer with this. My rationale for not liking them is I now can't use this in two places. Say I want to do another reverse string comparison somewhere, I have to rewrite this code. Kind of a pain. I also can't subclass from it. And it's just annoying to read. But that is an anonymous inner class. Those are nested classes, anonymous inner classes. That's about all there is to them. They're really their syntax is hard, and usually what I would do is get students to take an anonymous inner class and convert it to the top level class or the outer class, or nested class or whatever, or take a nested class and have them convert it to an anonymous inner class. I won't be getting you to do that on your exam, but it's a thing that I would get students to do. And it's just syntax you have to remember. So you're not saying new on the interface, you're making a new class that implements that interface. You're overriding that method, all that. I've shown you the steps to get there. From an outer class to an inner class, a nested class to an anonymous class. You'll see them. People do use them quite a bit. But there we go.